Thank you for joining us. So I decided that I would take control of this meeting, which of course is just a joke because I never will manage it. But, and I had a couple of reasons, because there are a couple of questions that I wanted to ask the Reds they might not think of asking themselves. So one of the things that I think would be fun for people who don't really know your group would be for us to go back and talk about how you all got together and why you got together. And what do you do? And so as a question, I would start, is one of you sort of the group historian, or is this going to be a collective memory kind of operation here?
I think it's collective when it comes right down to it. It's collective. But I think that of the original 3 Reds, I'm the only one who's still here. So okay. I'll start and then you all take it away.
Right.
Jan Brogan and Rosemary Harris and I were at somebody's house at some Sisters in Crime meeting. Mm-hmm. And the person there was supposed to be a police officer who was supposed to come and brief us on police procedure. And he just didn't show up. And we thought it was because he decided to stay home and watch the Patriots game. But he never called. He never said anything. And we were just, he just dumped us. So the 3 of us, Jan and Rosemary and I, decided we'd just have a panel talking about the writing life. And it was so much fun just to sort of share stories and complain and be happy and talk about our journeys, that we thought we should take this show on the road. We should have a blog. So we decided to have a blog. And then I think I called Hallie to be part of it. Hallie, is that what happened?
I think so, and I think that the original thing was actually at the Sisters in Crime New England Crime Bake. One of the very
no, definitely not.
It wasn't the police officer didn't show up.
Welcome to the Reds, right? No, it was at somebody's house. It was definitely at somebody's house.
Probably my house, but I don't know anyway, because I might have been president of Sisters in Crime New England back then.
But they would have invited you
to be asked, and then Roberta, you
Lucy.
Followed close on me, right?
Right, Lucy.
I'm sorry.
Right. Then we brought in Lucy, and I remember the way that it really began in earnest to be Jungle Red was sitting right here at this desk where I'm sitting right now, and Hallie came over, and we were remember when you could come over to somebody's house? We were brainstorming. Names. And I said, and we were just new friends. And I wanted to call it, I said, oh, I wish we could call it Desk Set. That's my favorite movie. And Hallie looked at me and said,
my parents wrote that movie. Which was
and we knew, yeah, we knew we were bonded from that moment.
Because who would have known? But who came up with Jungle Red Riders? I think it was Rosemary.
I think you and I did.
Oh, we did?
I think you and I did, because we were, this is revisionist history.
Yes, there's no one in charge, Barbara.
Yeah. I knew it would go like this, but that's okay. So before we go any farther, what year roughly was this? We haven't dated this. Well, when do you think this might have happened?
I went back and looked. I think it was more than 10 years ago.
Oh, sure. More than 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Julia
much more, because Debs and I came on in, our first posts were in January of 2011.
I want to say 17 years ago. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Possible.
No.
Isn't that scary?
It might have been 2004. How long ago was that?
17 years ago.
17 years.
2005.
Yeah.
Because my first book was published in 2000, whenever that was, 5, I think. So that's when it was. And we've had 10 million views. I mean, there have been 10 million people on our blog. Yeah. I was looking the other day.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so then what happened?
And a blog is an interesting thing because, I don't know, does everybody still do blogs? I've kind of lost. I don't do the blog for the bookstore. I have Lisa Holstein, who many of you know, marvelous librarian and reviewer, and used to live in Phoenix. And when her library closed, she took a position in Indiana where I think she still feels, sorry, Lisa, like an outlier. And so we keep her in touch she does our blog. But I don't really know. Do blogs get the kind of traffic and views now that they did when there are other means? You know, Instagram wasn't a thing back then, and Twitter and all the rest of it. Do y'all?
No,
do
they
y'all feel
don't.
like blogs are still effective?
We actually talked about this, one of our sort of Zoom get-togethers, that my theory is that blogs are now a cyclical thing. They were the hot new thing. I mean, blogging was like whatever the latest, that TikTok, you know, of its time. And everybody rushed out and got a blog. And then just like a lot of things, the ones that hung on are ones like us, where you've got, you know, generally speaking, more than one person doing it, although that's not always true. And it's just been rolling on as a super, super dedicated readership. But, you know, now blogging, nobody blogs, but Substack is suddenly the big thing. Substack is blogging. It's just blogging without pictures in it. And one of the things that I think is really a big strength of blogging is it's our own platform. We don't have to worry about what Twitter does or what Facebook does. We have to worry about how Google sets us up with Blogger. But other than that, we're free to talk about the things that we want to talk about.
Well, I like them. I like our blog. So let me get this straight. So we have Hank, and then we have Hallie.
Yeah.
And then Lucy. You kind of next
and then
up.
me. And then me.
And
Rhys.
Yeah, Hank and I were together. We were together.
Me and Julia.
Yeah.
Oh, you and Deb came together.
Julia and I,
yeah.
I mean, not together, but I
same time.
It was the same time. We both did our first in, it was January 11, right?
And Rhys, you and I met at the St. Martin's party.
We did, yes. And she said, "I've got this blog. Might you be interested?" And I thought, oh God, more commitments. But then she sort of sucked me in. And every time I think about going, I think, well, if I went, I'd miss all these people. So, you know, it's become a great therapy session now. You know, we're all very screwed up, and we enjoy each other's company, and we straighten each other out. So that's been very good.
I think that's how I pitched it to you, Rhys.
Yeah. And that's why our Jenny come lately fits in so well, because we're all messed up.
Well, Barbara, when you asked about blogs, I was thinking that we should ask Jenn if blogs are in, because she's by far the most social media savvy person by far.
I think I was for a nanosecond, and then TikTok came, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on anymore. I think Julia nailed it. I think, you know, the cream always rises to the top, if that's okay to say. And I think Jungle Red, we just offer so much to other writers who can't maintain a blog of their own. And now there's so much on writers to promote your stuff. Well, where do you go when you're doing this? You come to us. You know, and I've been on for 5 years now.
Oh, wow.
So you're the baby in this group, right? The
Yeah,
most newly minted Jungle Red. So are you happy with lucky number 7? Is lucky number 7 the number you're going to stick to?
It's perfect because it's seven days
in a week. It works so well on the calendar.
And our chemistry is really good. So we don't want to mess it up. And no one is allowed to quit.
No. Well, we each do a week. So that's 7 weeks. And then on the 8th week, we have our What We're Writing week, where we each get a day to talk about, you know, whatever is in progress. And that fills up that 7 days. So it's just perfect.
I love that. It's just the calendar so beautifully. Right. So my next question is, you know, talk to me about the platform that you have created for other authors, because, you know, I do the Instagram for the Poison Pen. So that's the only way I kind of keep up with stuff, because I barely have time to breathe anymore. But I do see that you're always hosting a new author and doing a wonderful job with that. Now, I don't know if Hank bears the brunt of that or whether you all do it. How does it work?
Yeah.
Oh, we all do.
We all do. Yeah.
Rhys, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that we, although we each have a week, we're also responsible almost every day to come in and comment and just generally be there. So it's pretty much a full-time commitment every day, because, you know, these new authors, sometimes nobody knows them, and perhaps they don't get very many comments. And so they need us to sort of push the comments along and to sort of endorse these people. The publishers come to us, authors come to us having heard about us through other authors. And, you know, so it's a big chain of, oh, you should go to Jungle Reds. But interestingly, the number of publishers that look at the blog, they don't ever comment. But occasionally I'd be having a meeting in New York and someone would say, well, I really like what you wrote the other day about so-and-so. And I thought, oh God, they're watching all the time too. So, you know.
Well, it's not just new authors, it's established authors.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
No, I know you have a very, very wide range of it. I was talking to someone the other day and I realized as we were having the conversation, because it was about whether we could do something because there wouldn't be any sales involved, that's not what we are ever been about at the Poison Pen. We're about author relationships. We're about nurturing authors. And what's really, I know what it was a Stephen Spotswood who had done one book and we did a second book. And he said to me, you know, would you have me back for every book? And I said, well, it's especially wonderful when we get you at your first book. And then we can follow you, you know, like all the way along and provide a platform and the whole bit. So I feel like that's what you guys are doing too, with new discoveries, but then also with people who, you know, you just want to hang out with, or you really like their new book. Do each of you pick the authors that you invite on in your week?
We do. We each have responsibility for filling that week. And so often, well, we each have a different set of friends. So that makes it interesting too. The people I know to invite are not the ones that Hallie knows or Julia knows. And sometimes someone will contact one of us and it's not our week. And so then we'll say, who has room for
we do a lot
Ellie
of trade-off.
Griffiths.
We do a lot of that.
Everybody has room for Ellie Griffiths.
we follow.
We were Anne Cleves when she came. We were arm wreshling over Anne
fighting over
Her actual name is Dominica, and she blogs, or she quite often just set up something with her from her garden shed. I went to her yesterday and I said, how cold is it in your garden shed? Because she's out there in the middle of nowhere in the UK. But anyway, she's lovely. Right. So those.
And the other thing that we try to do about
together, so you know, which is wonderful support.
So the other thing we do about the authors, and Barbara, your audio is lagging a little bit, so forgive us if we're interrupting. The other thing we do about authors
I know
is
there's something wrong with our. I don't know what it is.
Gremlins. It's the Gremlins. It's the universe.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
The other thing that we do, and this is sort of to take care of readers a little bit, because we focus just as much on readers, obviously, as authors, is to make sure to work with the authors to make sure they're not sending us just straight promotional material. Right. You know, we really encourage them more than encourage them to say, don't do a big promo blog. Don't push your book. Tell us something about you. Just as you're saying about what you do at the Pen, tell us something about you, how your life is, where your book came from. Don't you all think that's an important part of the blog?
Some of the most engaging posts that we've ever had from guest authors have been things that, you know, there's a picture of the book and we put in a blurb of the book at the bottom, but it's about something interesting that the author did, or, you know, here's my crazy travel story when I was researching these books. Readers really love, I mean, everybody loves authenticity, right? It's the word of the decade. And I think that is something that we get to offer, is you get to see somebody and hop on the comments in the back and chat with that person in the comments and see something about the author that you're not going to see in a very crafted, you know, PR presentation.
Yeah, and some of the things that we do that get the most comments and the most interactions, you'd think are the most mundane. Like I'd post, I hate ironing. And then 300 people will come on in an hour, say, oh God, I hate ironing too. And I just knitted a pair of socks, you know, all these things which are so mundane, but then people feel really connected because they can say, oh, that belongs to me too. So, you know, that's one thing. Our commenters, our readers are very connected to us. They do feel like a big family now, and they share things with us that are really quite sad and tragic sometimes, and they feel that they're listened to and appreciated.
It's very personal. It's a very personal format. Somebody's dog is barking.
Not mine.
Not mine.
So if you ever had an awkward moment when somebody has asked you to be on, no names here, but is asked to be on the blog and you didn't really want to do that, do you have a very kind way of kind of saying no if no is required?
We make Hank do it.
Yes, sometimes they do. You know what? Isn't it though kind of rare? When you asked that question, Barbara, I thought, do we?
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't. We're not going to put erotica on the blog. We're not. I mean, that'd be an easy no.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about politics too much,
Right.
and we don't. I mean, there are. It's polite, funny, engaging dinner conversation is what we want.
Yeah.
And what you would do at a dinner party, you wouldn't push your book. If somebody asks you about yourself, you would tell them, but you're not going to cause an argument. And don't you think that's the feeling of the blog too, you all?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have had times when we've asked people, to go back and rewrite what they've sent us because they are just pushing their book, or there's just something that just doesn't feel right to us. So they have to expect to be edited sometimes.
Yeah, it's not very often, though. Doesn't happen very often.
No.
But we're not all about promoting author post. We have a lot of just sort of general personal. I mean, we all post personal stuff, just blogs, and we do the Monday chats. I'm trying to remember how the Monday chats came about.
So the Monday chat that did the best, I was going back, we get these reports on our traffic. In the past 12 months, the Monday chat that did the best was one that I had started, and it was both of my daughters had gotten cars. Like my youngest for the first time, my oldest got the hot roddy kind of thing finally. And we were talking about, it was like, let's talk about that car that you loved. And like everybody, Hank has had some crazy car. Which one of you had like the butterscotch colored Vega or something? Yeah. Oh,
I had a butterscotch. Did you do too?
Oh, it's big butterscotch.
I had a butterscotch
I had
Vega.
Chocolate colored Impala with butterscotch interior. Convertible.
I had a burnt orange 240Z.
And people went nuts. This is the best performing conversation. We had a million comments. Everybody wanted to talk about that special car that they had and that they wrecked. Jen, did you wreck yours?
No.
That was, I'm trying to remember. Somebody.
That was probably me.
Oh, okay.
I love it. Well, I asked the question because
where that came from, where the conversation came from. That was the number one decision that we made before the blog even went live, was that we would have conversations, because no one did that at the time. And I remember talking about this and saying we should have conversations, because that's what this blog is. It's a conversation. People are coming here to talk with us. So let's talk. Let's have it be like you're just having coffee with all of us. We're chatting and you're chatting too. And I think it was a little bit, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but it was new to the blog theory, and it's really taken off.
It might have been groundbreaking. Why not?
It was groundbreaking. Totally groundbreaking.
Yeah.
you should give yourself credit. I mean, I asked the question because, in a Zoom world, I probably get 3 or 4 requests a day, to do a Zoom event. And when we first started out, I agreed to too many of them because it seemed like the right thing to do, and, all the rest of it. And now I find I got a request the other day for a book, and I know that I don't want to spend time with the book. The author may be great, but I just don't want to, and it's a commitment, like you say. You have to read it, you have to review it, you have to put it up on your web, and then you have to spend an hour and the whole bit. And it doesn't feel authentic if you're just kind of bluffing your way through it because you didn't especially like it. So, I just wondered whether you'd had that experience or not. I mean, the Zoom world is a new world to navigate. It's I think there's so many positives to it. I really love it. We get to do things like this, for example, with all of us in different places. But maybe good manners are the thing that makes it all work. Do you think? You know, I mean, somebody asked me once, what was my best preparation for being a bookseller? And I said, being a debutante in Winnetka, Illinois in 1957. And I was really serious about it, you know. I mean, and Rhys has, you know, wonderful, you all do, wonderful manners. And, you know, we all,
oh, yes.
You know, it's very civilized. And I don't find the whole internet world to be all that civilized. You know, there's a lot of not civilized stuff out there.
I credit the fact that early on, or at least before 2016, we decided that we wanted to have a place. We all have, not surprising, very strong political views, and we like to talk about it amongst ourselves. But we wanted to have a place where people could come and you didn't have to hear anything about politics. We do touch on current events. Sometimes we talk about things, but you know, it's a site. It's like Hank said, it's a place where you come. I would just say maybe for breakfast, because, you know, I think most people see us in the morning, and you just have some fun and talk and see people that you know.
It's a safe haven.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think you can say and not be judged. You know, I think a lot of our commenters like to say things knowing that what we're, you know, we're open and we're receptive and we're not non-judgmental.
And during the pandemic, it was more than just gathering for coffee. It was really important to have that connection.
It was very important,
and let people check in, because it was so hard. I mean, we're not through it yet, but it's lightened some.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I was going to say, we have one commenter from Canada, and she lives alone, and she was really locked in her room for Grace, wasn't she? Locked in her room for quite a while. So connecting with us is very important during a time like that.
Yeah. And for me,
I think what's nice too is that the readers have connected. So they have a relationship outside of us. I mean, if I think we were all together in Dallas, weren't we?
Yeah.
Is that the last time?
Yeah, Dallas.
And Barbara, you were there too. And it was funny because the Jungle Reds readers, you'd see them all in little packs, you know, working the conference. And I was like, oh, those are our people.
But they're people who've met, but they've met through the blog. And friends in real life, which is just really cool.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, you guys are interested, you're fun to be with, you're not judgmental. I think Rhys makes a really excellent point there. And you're polite, and it's a safe place in the sense, you know, we try to do the same thing every once in a while. Very rarely, my political feelings kind of overcome me in our little blue island in an otherwise red state. But, you know, I really try not to do that because I think it's important. I'm fascinated that so many bookstores have become really engaged socially. I mean, they're out there storming the barricades on all kinds of social issues, and good for them. But that's not really what I feel that our store should be. So, you know, so we're not. And it's wonderful. And we have different people doing our social media, and I have to trust all of them. Lisa does the blog, Patrick does Facebook, Susan does Twitter, I do Instagram, and Kathy, a customer, does Pinterest and all. And you have to really rely on everybody's, you have to rely on each other, right? Because any one person can kind of can create a problem. So you have to rely on their good judgment and censorship in order to make a group thing work. I mean, there's 7 of you. So you really have to trust each other and, you know, back each other and believe that nobody is going to create a problem. So on another front, this is a celebration. So everybody, you're all different. You all write different books and you write at different speeds and, you know, whatever. So, and I'm not looking at you, Deborah, sorry.
Laughing.
Or Julia. So I thought we might, you know, invite whoever's published a book in 2021 that would like to talk about it. Why don't we do that? And since I know Rhys, because she and I are often together physically, why don't we start with you, Rhys, and tell us about what you did in 2021?
Well, the beginning of 2021, April, I believe, the Venice Sketchbook came out, and that was a big historical standalone, not essentially a mystery, but with some mystery elements to it. And it came out, it did very well to start with. And I'm delighted to say that my editor just texted me today and said the Venice sketchbook is again this week #9 on the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. So
wow.
it's the little gift that keeps on giving, which is very nice. And then in October, my Royal Spinist book is a Christmas book this year, so very apt for today. It's called God Rest Ye Royal Gentlemen, and it's Lady Georgie #15. And it takes place at Sandringham, where the royal family is celebrating Christmas, and Christmas 1935. And we know that 1936, some very big changes are going to be happening, and that's very much foreshadowed in the book. So, but it's the traditional Old English Christmas, you know, with the Yule log and all the wonderful trappings and just a few bodies to liven things up.
It's a real Agatha Christie structure. It's a country house murder. And amazingly, Georgie, this is the second time she's gone to visit an aunt of Darcy and wound up.
Never again. No, never again.
So Hank, you had a big year. Tell us a bit about your wonderful book that came out in August.
I did have a big year. It was quite, who's just arrived? Oh, I thought that was a dog, but it's a pillow.
No, it's my pillow because my back hurts.
But it is a dog on the pillow. It's a dog.
My mother. I'll show it to you. It's a relic of my late mother. She loved this pillow.
Oh,
give her
dog? Was that a real dog?
No, well, it's sort of a bit of her dog, but she, you know, you want to hang on to a few memories of your parents that are concrete rather than, there we go, than just sentimental. And so I keep the pillow, and then I get to think of her. She was very much engaged, and she was a mystery addict. The reason we have a mystery bookstore was my mom. I actually started the business in part so that she and I would have something to do together. And you've been in the store. Most of you have been in the store, so you'll remember that none of the bookshelves is all that tall, right? It's not like the Mysterious Bookshop where you have to scale ladders and all. And I did that in part because it wasn't too high for her to reach anything.
Did she name it Poisoned Pen?
No, she didn't name it Poisoned Pen. And it was going to be Poisoned Pen, but that name was taken, and I had to go through. It's a great story. There was a website called Poison Pen without the ED. And our copyright and trademark guy said to me, you have to talk to them and get permission to be the Poison Pen because it's too close. The trademark office won't let you have it. And he said, I've tried negotiating with her and she won't budge. She won't let you do it. So I called her, and it was a sort of unpleasant website. But anyway, and I said to her, you know, how can we come to an agreement? And she said, well, we can't. And I said, well, we're a bookstore. I said, is there anybody you really like to read? I won't give you the name of the author, but she said, yes, I'm really a big fan. And I said, if I could produce for you, I said, every year an autographed copy of this author's book, would that be enough to get you to let us become the Poison Pen? And she said, yes, absolutely. So that was our deal.
That was smart.
Great story. I never heard that.
No, I never heard that.
It's really true. That was back in, gosh, I'm trying to remember, the early 90s. Anyway,
that's some psychology that you used.
Well, it just goes to show that readers are susceptible to bribery.
And that a favorite author has a lot of power.
It does. It really does. Anyway, tell us about your great year, Hank.
Oh my goodness, thank you. This is my 13th book, Her Perfect Life, which is also so casually displayed behind me, as you can see. My second pandemic release, which was just such a surprise. It's a cat and mouse game, two smart women facing off in a high stakes cat and mouse game to prove their truth about a childhood betrayal. So it's sisters, betrayal, guilt, fame, and revenge. And it went into a second printing 2 weeks after it came out, which was quite astonishing. Thank you. With starred reviews from Kirkus and from Publishers Weekly. So, you know, when you get your starred reviews, you know this, you get an email from your editor. Yeah. And sometimes it'll say review. Yeah. And sometimes it'll say review, ! And sometimes it'll say starred review, ! And when the Kirkus starred review came through, the email that I got from my editor said, are you sitting down? So And so that's how happy I was about that. So yeah, Her Perfect Life has been great. When you said it came out in August, I thought, what month is this now?
Right.
December.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a Zibby Owens pick, and I'm really happy about that. She's quite amazing. And I just sent in book 14. So that is thrilling. And I think, look at all your books. Your books all have titles, but my book does not have a title. So we will have to see what that is.
The way that works is it says Untitled Hank Ryan.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
It really is, because I have stuff in our, it says like Untitled David Baldacci
Yeah.
or whatever. And, that works pretty well, but it's exciting, isn't it? When you can go back and edit it to the real thing.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
it.
I'm really looking forward to mining the book for the title. We know it's in there somewhere. I mean, Her Perfect Life was an evolution, and then look what came out. This gorgeous girl with the pearl earring cover, which is so enigmatic and so sinister, and just like how the book is. So I'm really pleased with that. So it's, this is all part of the process.
You bet. Jenn, I know for sure that you wrote Killer Research because we just did an event with you for it. What have you done in 2021? Because you're so prolific.
Yeah, actually, it's behind me, I think. For Better or Worse. So that was a cupcake mystery. And then the women's fiction rom-com, whatever, Wait For It, which is set in Phoenix, which was fun. And then, yes, Killer Research just came out. So it's been busy, but not as busy as most years. Usually I have 4 out. I kind of feel like a loser, but that's okay. And next year I only have 2 books out, so I'm going to need therapy. I don't know what's happening.
You might actually take a vacation, Jenn.
How do you even do that, Jenn? How do you write 3 or 4 great books a year?
Well, that's Rhys and I are in that what would we call it? Overachiever anxiety club. I don't even know what it is. We need therapy, Rhys. We need therapy.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We will meet in Phoenix and drink.
Yeah.
Okay. Prosecco, right? Some bruschetta. We have Rhys and I have our own spot.
Is it Phoenix? Like, I should move to Phoenix and then I'd start writing at least a book every year instead of every other year.
Yeah. It's hot. There's nothing else to do. Maybe that's it. It's hot.
And you could meet Jenn and me for lunch, and we'd have prosecco and bruschetta, and it's very nice.
Oh, that sounds
I love it. I'm not sure that would actually increase my writing pace, though.
You're not wasting time brushing snow off your windshield or putting on heavy winter garments or, any of that stuff. Lucy, you've had an interesting year. What have you been?
I have. I had 2 books, which is a lot for me. A Scone of Contention, number 11 in the Key West Food Critic mystery series, which I don't have to show you, which is bad PR. But my food critic, Hallie Snow, goes to Scotland with her new husband for their so-called honeymoon. And this was the one that I wrote during the pandemic, and it was based on a trip that my husband and I took. So it was really fun to be able to relive that when look, thank you.
Thank you, Jenn.
It's behind me, but it's you. It's excellent. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And then just this week, my first ever thriller came out, Unsafe Haven. It's totally different from a cozy mystery. It's dark, it's fast, it's 4 points of view. And it took 10 years to write. So it's very exciting to see it out.
Congratulations. That's very exciting. Good for you.
Yeah.
Did you keep the same name?
Yes, this is a Severn House book, which is a publisher in England. Yeah. And I thought they wouldn't want Lucy's name because Lucy is known for lighter books, but they said, oh no, Lucy sells better than Roberta does. So that's the name we want. So that's fine. But I do feel like I have to tell that my dedicated cozy readers that this is not a cozy. nobody's talking about recipes. Nobody's, people are running for their lives, and there's a newborn in jeopardy. So don't go in expecting to be relaxed.
No.
That's a really good point. We had a launch party for Paige Shelton on Monday, and Jenn, I know that you watched it, and it's her Alaska Wild series as opposed to her cozies. But I thought it was so interesting that her publisher put it out there as a cozy, even though there's absolutely nothing about this book that in fact fits that category. And I think that they made a mistake, in doing that, because the cozy readers are going to be up in arms, I think, about, expecting something from Paige that,
well, it's interesting because
one way and it's another.
Some readers just want to read whatever the author writes. So they'll read anything Jenn writes or anything Rhys writes, but others just want the one particular kind of book.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought they would get everybody.
I don't know. I'm not marketing it as a cozy. Let's put it that way. So we'll work it out. So for you three, want to talk about your writing process, since that's where we are. Deb, what are you up to?
I will have a book in 22, and it has a title, and it actually has the cover, but the publisher hasn't released the cover yet, so I can't show it to anybody. But it's called A Killing of Innocence, and it will be Kincaid James number 19.
Oh.
Wow.
And this is a book you wrote without going to England.
I got one little trip in November 2019 after VoucherCon, when I was starting the research for this book, and then that was it. So I spent a lot of time on Google Maps and Google Street View. I can find my way around London on Google Street View now.
So you're writing, the question was really in part about your writing process. What is it that you do and why does it take you often? And that's not a reproach or a criticism, but why does it tend to take you maybe a couple of years as opposed to Jenn sitting next to you who lifts them out,
I think Jenn and Rhys and Hank and Lucy all need to just come and, stick me up the backside or something. I'm just slow. I don't know. I'm just slow. Do a lot of stop and starting and working out storylines and places and history and research stuff. So, but I do get there eventually, but this one has definitely been slower than most. I really, really miss that feet on the ground, taking in all those sensory cues and, getting ideas about things from being in London, in England, but in London for this particular book.
Yeah,
I think I didn't realize how important it was.
Oh,
yeah. I was going to say your books are not linear. It's not just, here's a body, we're going to solve it, we've solved it. You've got when Melody's doing this, Duncan's doing that over here. You've got all these different lives and stories intertwining with each other, which takes an awful lot more work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lots of interlocking lines and getting everything to match up and everybody to get the right bit of information in the right sequence.
Yeah.
When it all comes together at the end, it makes sense, or at least I hope it makes sense.
I hope it does. Yeah.
Well, and you're in Texas, and the books are set in England, so there is that. I certainly can understand your wish to actually have boots on the ground while you're working on the book and try to visualize it.
We really wanted to write a book set in Bloomsbury and Soho, which it is, and there is atmosphere, but I didn't get to learn about things and be in places that I had anticipated.
Years ago, Poison Pen Press published a book set in Soho with one of my favorite book titles of absolutely all time, especially for Soho. It was called Not All Tarts Are Apple. It was, it was absolutely perfect for, for the time she was writing about it in Soho. And I'm sad that she didn't continue to write for very long, but it was just a gem of a book.
I know.
Pip Granger.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I read the book. It was great.
Wasn't it a wonderful book?
Oh, wonderful.
Just perfect title. It was absolutely great. So, Julia, what are you up to?
Well, I am still working on At Midnight Comes the Cry, which is going to be the 10th Russ and Claire book. We're hoping I'll get it done in time for a 22. That would put me at least on just, an other year gap instead of like a 2 years in between the books or anything. And I'm just,
maybe Julia and I can tour together.
Like, I know, it is, I feel like I am the universe's counterbalance to Rhys and Jenn. It's like they write 10 books in the time it takes me to write one. And, that way it's all sort of evened out. I have no excuse. I get distracted and I write in a weird way where I throw away a lot of stuff. I have to figure out what I'm doing. I mean, my books are long. The average word length, I toted this up once for the 9 books that I've written so far. The average is 127,000 words.
Oh, wow.
And I've had books that have been over 140,000 words.
Wow.
So, and I throw away like almost that much.
Oh my
So
God.
I need to come up with the really efficient way of writing, and have yet to actually come up with that efficient way of writing. I just feel really, really grateful. Any of you who are watching this on YouTube or Facebook or reading my books, I am so thankful that you're willing to wait for a year or 2 or 5 for me to put a book out, and you'll still buy it.
But you know what? Everybody has a different writing process. There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment about it. If it takes you 3 years and somebody else 3 months, that's just the way different minds, work. And I don't think there's anything pejorative in taking extra time at all.
Your books are always worth it. Both of
They
you.
are.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Lucy.
Yeah.
So,
And I think for mine are more sitcom. If I was to look at my books, it's more sitcom. Yours are more like family drama. I mean, Julia, you do humor really, really well. So do you.
And sex.
But mine are like constant, ha, 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 hopefully. But I think that I write that way because they read that way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's why I can hyper speed it. Yours are much more thoughtful. It's much more family saga. There's so many players and you dig so deep into all your characters. A lot of mine are, it's I Love Lucy, Agatha Christie mashup. It's not, we're not going deep.
See, this is why we all stick with this group. I mean, we're so supportive. We're very different in a lot of ways, but it's such a supportive environment to be in. Thank you, you guys.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk to Hallie about reviewing, because I know that Hallie is a, respected reviewer as well as writer. And does that change your perspective, Hallie, about your own writing when you review other people's books and think about what went into them?
I haven't been a book reviewer for almost 12 years.
Well, but I remember when you were, so, that doesn't matter that it was in the past.
And you're a teacher, a great teacher.
Yeah, I do a lot of teaching. I do think, it's complicated. Book reviewing, and this because you review books as well, Barbara. I mean, even as in the role as an editor, that is essentially what you're doing, is you're either green lighting or red lighting manuscripts that people send you. It makes you harder on yourself if you're a writer, because you're constantly looking at what someone else has said is good enough to publish, and you're looking at it and thinking, seriously, but also knowing that the author poured his heart and soul into it, and that you being clever and cutting about it is not helpful. to anything in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was glad that I was an author at the same time that I was a reviewer, because I think, and sometimes I read my reviews and I cringe because I could have said it in a kinder way than I did. But now that I'm deep in my career, I think, you know, there are ways of telling people that something's not working without cutting them to the core. And that's why I love teaching, because people are giving you stuff before it's published. So what is the point of telling somebody that a scene isn't working when the book is published? They can't do anything about it, you know. It's the cat is out of the bag. So so it's much more satisfying to work with authors who are looking for constructive feedback, who can hear it, who can use it before they go and get published. So it is a nice kind of symbiosis between having been a reviewer and now teaching as much as I do and helping people with their manuscripts. I haven't written anything myself in a little while. The COVID thing, my husband was ill for a while. It's all been, it's made me contemplative in a way that I wasn't before. I don't know if Jenn had a rough year last year too, and I wonder if that affected you in that way at all. But one of the things that I'm thinking of doing is kind of jumping out of crime fiction and, for a while at least, writing more personal stuff. Fiction, nonfiction, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of pieces. So I'm one of those people who, I'm like Deb, I always start a file and then I start an out file. And the out file is everything I've taken out of the novel. And usually the out file is longer than the manuscript when I'm done. Yeah. So that'll be the same with this. So I'm not sure what I'm doing next. I'm going to be, but can I just say, I mean, being a member of this group is so supportive. I can't tell you how great these other women are, these amazing 6 other people that I have the pleasure of blogging with. I love you.
You're very lucky. And you would enjoy this, Barbara. The other day on email, we have a group email. Hank said, well, Hallie, you may not appreciate this, but I dreamed about your next book.
Great.
And we're all so jealous. It's such a good idea. If you're not using it, Hallie.
I'm using it. Don't take it.
I think I need to rewire my brain a little bit, because why am I not thinking of ideas for myself? So
Exactly.
Hallie, you have to dream an idea for my book, if you will please be so kind.
Well, Hallie,
the title, at the very least. Dream the title, Hallie. Just dream the title.
Dream the title, yes, please.
Hallie makes a good point, which Jenn kind of personifies, and Rhys too, to some extent. You don't have to be in any one genre to be a writer. You know, I mean, if you feel like writing a memoir, or you feel like writing a rom-com, or whatever it is, you know, it's all, why not? I mean, you know, readers may not necessarily transition, and publishers might balk slightly, but if you're a writer, you should be able to write what you feel like. You'll enjoy this. An interesting discussion with Stephen Spotswood, who won the Nero Wolfe Award last night. And interestingly enough, I looked up the winners of the previous Nero Wolfe Awards, and I was astonished at how different they all are. I mean, they're supposed to be books in the tradition of Rex Stout. And so I'm looking at Dennis Lehane and Lee Child as winners of this, and I'm going, really? I found it a fascinating list. But anyway, Stephen is a dramatist. And I asked him, I don't remember how it came up. I said, so how is it, you know, when you're writing a play, and, you know, you can have tryouts, you know, you could take it out of town to like Boston or something, you know, before you take it to Broadway and all. And I said, so you can revise it. It's kind of a living thing, a play, you know, a script. And, you know, if the audience goes boo, or the audience goes whatever it is, you can keep revising it. It remains kind of a living entity. But the thing about a book is, once it publishes, it's done. You know, and there's no point in people saying to you, well, why didn't you do this, or, you know, whatever, because it's over, right?
Right.
And I think that's such an interesting difference. And he was thinking about that. You know, we had a really good discussion about the fluidity of drama as opposed to the basically static nature of a book. You know, when it's done, it's done. So have any of you ever thought about writing a script or a play?
I did quite a lot of TV things early in my career. And I wouldn't do it now because it's writing by committee. Right. You know, when I write a book, it comes out with 2 covers on it. And there it is, it's mine. And as Lee Goldberg has got wonderfully funny stories to tell you, when if you're writing anything for one of the visual media, you sit there and someone says, yeah, I really like her Royal Spiness, but could we make her Czechoslovakian? And what if she's really a vampire? And everybody says, yeah, I like that. And then you're sitting there thinking, wait, this is my story, but it's gone. So, you know, books are great. They come and you can put them on a shelf behind you. I love that.
And you own it. You do. If you're the author, you own it. I mean, that hot word agency, you know, that's going around and all, but basically you as the author really have agency, right? It's your book. Maybe your editor and you will cavil over things and discuss things, but in the end, you know, even your editor is supposed to let you publish the book that you intended to write, to better how you hammer it all out.
But the thing about that is that, so, and I know you have the experience with this so deeply, Barbara, is that the editor sometimes sees the book that you meant to write and reveals to you that, you know, oh, this is a book about redemption. I mean, one of my books, my editor said, I love this book about redemption. And I said, oh yeah, redemption. That's exactly what I meant it to be. But sometimes those brilliant, wise eyes looking at what you wrote can help you make it be a better book. So that kind of collaboration, I've worked in television for 43 years and I know what you mean, Rhys, is like, can you make it longer, shorter, funnier, more investigative, more featurey? And you learn how to write doing that. You know, you learn how to be flexible and you learn to rise to a challenge. But the collaboration with an editor, I think, is this brilliant, gorgeous thing that can really be a treasure.
Well, in theory, they're not your enemy. You know, I mean, in theory, they're there to help you make the book better. You know, I can't resist, before we go to questions from Patrick, I have to tell you this wonderful story about Hank. One of the reasons I so love Hank and admire her so much is that she agreed to share. Well, I probably made her do it. But anyway, she ended up sharing an event with a blogger, a podcaster, who turned out to be very, very self-centered. And Hank, just after I had introduced her and mentioned her, at least at that point, 39 Emmys and what a wonderful figure she was in television and all, this guy paying absolutely no attention then spoke up to the audience and said, television is dead, he said. And Hank didn't kill him. I mean, it was just amazing. You know, you sat there with a smile on your face while he said television is dead and it's really all about podcasting and, you know, other stuff. And I was so, that comes back to the good manners I was talking about, you know, way back at the beginning. I couldn't believe that he actually did that. But I was so impressed with Hank, who never lost her cool, who never cried, screamed, or murdered him on the spot.
Didn't I say something? I think I said, thank you. That was quite a moment. There is a picture of it, first of all. And there are 2 things about that. One is, I think I said, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. I think that is what I said. And there's a classic photo that I'll talk about in 1 second that you'll never find. But there's a picture that someone took of that event where I'm talking, very animatedly talking, and he's looking at his phone. And that was emblematic of the whole.
Oh my gosh.
But it was fun, you know, wasn't it, Barbara? It was a fun combination and a packed audience, and everybody loved it. And I would not have changed one word of that night for $1 million.
Well, that was on me to the degree that since I'd never done anything with him, you know, it was a bit of a risk, I guess, putting an unvetted author in, you know, to a situation where obviously I didn't have a lot of control, but Hank is the one who made it work, because without her incredible poise and so forth, it could have disintegrated really rapidly into something else. But anyway, there's much to celebrate, and let's call Patrick back. back into the hen house, Patrick. Come in your wolf costume and tell us if we have any questions or anything you'd like to ask.
All right. Actually, I do have a question, and I'm sure you all have been asked this, but when are we going to see a Jungle Red Writers serial novel written by all of you?
Who wants to talk first?
We talked about that.
We've talked about the idea of a serial novel, and then we actually had a much more in-depth discussion, albeit one that was well lubricated because it was after a jolly dinner together at BoucherCon, about doing a Christmas anthology where we would each write, and the theme would be red. So far,
it's still a good idea. It's still a good idea.
Yes, it's a great.
And we were also going to all write novellas titled with Jenn's title. Remember that, Jenn?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Paris is always a good idea.
We're all going to write novellas with that title, which is also a good idea.
It is a good idea.
Well, I have a Paris book coming out, so I'm going to steal it again. I'm going to have Paris is always a good idea.
Still a good idea.
I guess
so
you'd
what
have
do you
to
think
split
about
the
that,
events.
Patrick? What would you like to see from the Jungle Reds?
Oh boy. I don't know. That would be really, I mean, all those ideas are very cool. I mean, I guess you'd have to split the advance 7 ways, so that's not as attractive, right?
People get advances?
Well, that's true. Yeah. Right.
Most anthologies are not written for the royalties. They're written for fun or, as a project.
Exactly.
But
They're written,
generally
for the
trying to
glory.
piece together an anthology.
They're written for the what, Hallie?
The glory.
Yeah.
Glory.
Right. But, I like you. I think a Christmas anthology, Christmas story from each of you would be absolutely fabulous. I really do. You could have the whole bit.
Yeah.
I love it. So if you're ever going to do it, that would be fun.
Right. It was funny. We had, as Barbara was saying, we had Paige Shelton on. Was it last night? God, it's such a blur. 2 days ago. Yeah. And I was saying, Paige, you seem like a Jungle Red writer. Maybe they need to jump you in to the group somehow. How does somebody join your group? You said it was it's all about the chemistry and the balance and. Yeah. How does that work?
No. You have to kill one of us first.
Okay.
The number 7 is a critical part, Patrick. You weren't here for that.
I see.
Oh, Jesus, Patrick.
No. There was a Lawrence Block.
Paige is, we had talked about whether to expand or whether somebody leaves or what we would do. And I do think Paige is a perfect Jungle Red writer.
Yeah.
She's lovely and smart and wonderful in every way and a good person. So
good manners.
Yeah, good manners.
Good manners. Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to have somebody on the bench. It really doesn't. To have somebody in case any one of you, for some reason, should leave. It's not a bad idea to know somebody that you might invite.
Except I'm the one who has lunch with her, so I'm the one she's going to murder. So to get my spot. So I think we need to take that off the table. Take that off the table.
Well, that actually that could provide an interesting plot for your novel idea. Have a group, and if Lawrence Block, you remember Barbara? He had that book, The Long Line of Dead Men, and it was a similar conceit. It was I don't remember the group, but it was a group. I can't remember if it was a writing group or what, but somebody was bumping off the members.
Peter Lovesey did one of those too, a writers group thing, so right. There's a history of it, ladies. You got to be careful, right?
So let me go to these questions because there are quite a few.
Great.
Well, I'm getting a lot of support for my, not my idea, but your idea, Christmas anthology with a lot of people are weighing in on how much they would like that. And Hallie, you're getting a lot of support here for, Hallie is an amazing teacher. Let's see here. Yeah, Marie says she shows, not tells, with specific answers and quote edits to work you turn in, just the best. So you're getting a lot of support there, Hallie.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's see here. Just a lot of comments about how much people love all of you guys. Can't wait for Deb's release in 22.
I do have a jungle red
You,
shelf.
Jenn.
Oh, look at that.
Thank
Very
you,
nice.
Hallie.
Jen. Yeah.
With Hallie. I like the colors too.
Yeah.
You're sticking to the
It's
theme, right?
excellent. It's excellent. Sorry.
Thank you.
Question for Deb, but also this is probably for all of you guys. And it was about, were you slowed down by the pandemic? How was it for you? And I know several of you have spoken about that, but how was that the last couple of years for you? Your productivity or?
Yeah, well, we seem to be, either end of the scale. It's made me even slower than I already was. And then some of us have just written more and more. Actually, I think I had a conversation with my editor about that the last year or so about, some of her writers, the pandemic has just made them incredibly prolific, and others it's just slowed way down. So I think, it's a complicated equation.
I think it's changed our relationship to readers.
Yeah.
Because, that's really fundamental. And I'm sure the bookstore has experienced major changes, both good and bad.
Actually, none bad. I really hate to say this because I might be jinxing us. We are, as of today, 50% bigger than we were at the end of last year.
Yeah.
50%.
But it's almost killed us.
It's just killed us. We are actually turning away business. We have had
having nervous
orders,
breakdowns.
and we're trying to figure out how we can slow it down some because we're just not really geared up for that kind of expansion.
The point I'm making is that it has changed things.
Well, more people are reading. I think one of the really great things is, and all the statistics show that because people have had more free time and have been less inclined to be running around all the time, that books have made a comeback. We've observed, for example, that classics have really sold in a way that we never would have anticipated before. And I think that's great because I think that mystery readers who have not ever read any of the classics miss a lot of fun in modern interpretations. They don't have any idea if Rachel Housel Hall writes a version of And Then There Were None and they've never read And Then There Were none. No, what does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
I also think books are both comforting and reassuring in a way that television is not, and that people have really needed that during the pandemic.
Reading is a solipsist activity. It's Marshall McLuhan in action. Watching television is a group experience as a general rule, but reading is something you do all by yourself. And it's a way you can create a little oasis of privacy, especially if you happen to be stuck in a group situation during the pandemic. I mean, think about Jane Austen. She lived in a constant little solipsist bubble trying to write her books, sitting on a table in the hallway or whatever it was, I mean, how did she do that? If you think about it.
I remember when the pandemic started and it was so terrifying and we were all just so terrified. Yeah. And I was in the middle of writing Her Perfect Life when the pandemic started. And I was sitting here at this, well, first I was in West Palm Beach trying to get home as fast as I possibly could. But I was sitting here at this very desk thinking, I can't do this. This is too scary. Everything is too scary. I better be watching the news. I better be making sure that I have aluminum foil and light bulbs. I don't know. This is too scary. And then I thought, it's all.
Sorry. He's whining. I have to pick him up.
Hi, sweetheart. No, it's wonderful.
He's had a very rough week. We just found out. And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hank. I'm sorry.
Oh, you have a dog.
My manners. These are my bad manners.
Oh,
Otto.
He has a thing. He has dinner and then he has to be held. And
why does he have the cone, Jen?
Well, he's got cancer and they amputated part of his toe, and now we just found out he's gonna have to go get the rest of his toe. So I can't not pick him up. I'm sorry. This is Otto.
What a cutie.
He's so
cute. Now
he looks kind of like Barbara's pillow.
He does.
He does. Actually, oh wait. My God, look at that. It really does. Look.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. You're sitting on my dog.
Well, not on, with.
Or your pillow has come to life. Your pillow has come to life.
That's a little doped up.
And I feel bad. Go ahead, Hank. Sorry. Like a toddler.
This is a dog group. We are all about.
Thank God. Thank goodness. And then King George is in here too, but stay down, child.
Yeah.
So Hank, you were saying?
Oh, well, just sitting here thinking about that I couldn't do it. And then I thought, it's always safe inside my manuscript. It's always safe inside a book. And I got this idea that I thought, I decided to be a storyteller. I decided to be a writer, however long ago, 15 years ago, with sort of, as you said, with agency and with intent and with passion and with desire to be a storyteller and to write books. And I thought, this is the time to do this. If not now, when we all need that solace, when we all need that safety, this is the time to keep telling stories. And this is the time to keep writing. And I really went back to it with sort of this renewed passion, having searched my soul for why I was doing it and coming up with the answer. So it is always safe inside a book.
Absolutely. Patrick, anything else?
Yeah, Christina Estes, our good friend,
Hey.
has a question. Who has a new book? Has a book coming out?
Actually, Christina won the Tony Hillerman Prize, and her book will come out. I think it's in 2023, Christina. But I'm really proud of her. She's a NPR reporter here in Phoenix.
And you're going to come blog on Jungle Red for us, right?
Yeah.
This book comes out.
Yes.
Her question is about, let's see, how do you all celebrate book milestones? Do you have any rituals? What milestone and what do you do?
What a great question.
Hallie's holding
groups, good. Pub day. There's lots of milestones.
The end is a big one.
Yeah.
Do you all actually type the end? Do you actually type those words?
Yes.
Yeah. You bet.
I don't. Isn't that weird? I don't.
I don't either.
All caps.
No.
I never type it.
And then
Jenn
I
doesn't, because there's
write the end again.
It's not really the end, because it's like, you're like Trollope, when he finished one book and in the allotted time, he'd take out another ream of paper and he'd just start the next one.
Yeah, I know. I'm turning in a book Monday and I'll start the next book Tuesday. Right? So, the end of what?
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I do think the end of first draft is for me the milestone that I definitely celebrate, even though I'm probably only about 2/3 of the way actually finished, because I write the first draft and then it takes me half again as long to get it good enough so that I can submit it to my agent, and then gets revised again, and then it gets submitted to the editor and gets revised again, and it's an endless process. But that first time to the end is huge. And I toast myself. I do.
Yeah.
Once it sounds like a spot trip would be a really good idea. Something. So no, seriously, a spa trip, or a nice dinner, or whatever.
Some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Anyway, it's a very good question, Christina. I'm going to steal it and use it in more interviews. I really like that question.
Rhys was starting to say something though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now it's gone out of mind. Oh, yeah, first draft. Once you've got that down, you can finish the story. That's the huge relief. Every book that I write, and I've written 45 to date in the mystery series, I start off in a blind panic that this story will never work. I'll say everything I want to say in 50 pages. It will be too short. I won't be able to finish it. I won't know what to do with the end. And so I write that first draft. And when I get to that end, it's like, phew, now I know I can write it. Even if it's got to be polished, even if it's got to be rewritten in parts, the basic story is there. And that's a huge relief.
I mean, I slog through that first draft. It's just arithmetic, just addition and addition and addition. And I just think, don't worry about this. Just tell the story. Just advance the story. Just keep going. Yeah. And when you get to the end and you think, okay, now I can fix this. Yeah. Now I can discover the story that this was meant to be. And that is very exciting. That's a very exciting moment.
And don't you find, Hank, you were saying the redemption thing. Once you've read through that first draft, you go, oh, my God, this story is all about, and you realize you have a theme that you didn't know you had before.
Exactly.
Themes are for literature teachers, not teachers.
Well, you know, I saw an interview with David McCullough, the historian, once, and he was asked, "Do you have a theme for every book you write?" And he said, "Yes, I do, and I write the book to find out what it is."
What it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I think that's your subconscious. You know, I'm often interested in all the conversations I've had with authors over 20 years of editing, is that the author often, it was the subconscious doing all that, you know, rather than the immediate conscious. And so, you know, it was fascinating to get to the end, as Rhys says, and then, you know, there you are, and you suddenly can see it in a way.
I think when you look at when an author is well into their career and you look at their oeuvre, however you say that, you know, all of the books taken together, I think in a way we keep writing the same book, even though there might be totally different settings, different characters, but thematically, there's some kind of core within us that just runs right through those books.
It's something, sometimes you don't even know. I had an interviewer who asked me, I have to wonder, was there a problem with your father? Because all your characters have missing fathers or bad fathers. And I said, well, no, absolutely not. My father was a rock. So where did that come from? I don't know. Maybe by the end of my life, I'll figure it out. But it was interesting to hear her even ask that.
You should have asked the interviewer whether that person had a bad father. That's why that was the filter they were looking at.
That's what stuck in her mind. Yeah.
But I think your books, Lucy, are ultimately just so optimistic. You know, when you read your books, there's things are going to work and people are going to be happy no matter what they have to go through. But you have this sort of peace about you and this optimism about you that comes through in your books.
Well, that's nice.
That's when we were talking about pandemic and our reactions to it, and the first like couple of months in the pandemic, and I was we were stressed to the max and afraid, and I actually reread all of Lucy's books up to that point. It was like, it was such an escape. It was like, I'm going to go to Key West and I'm going to eat delicious food and everything will turn out right in the end. And nobody that I don't want to get hurt is going to get hurt. Nobody will have heartbroken. It was so soothing. It was like, oh yes.
Thanks, Julia.
Anything else, Patrick?
Yeah. Well, kind of along that line, somebody was asking, and I have a hard time keeping track of everybody here, but other than yourselves, who are some of the favorite writers that you have?
We forgot.
Maybe there's some that you all share.
We were going to recommend a book. We forgot all about that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, excellent idea.
Why don't we the Midnight Hour, which
I have. This is the one I had. This, because probably most of you haven't heard of this, although I had her on Jungle Red. It's called Tin Camp Road by Ellen Airgood. And she's a writer from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And she does winter and stark lives, but in the end, so hopeful. I just love this book, so I recommend this to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who, another one?
Now, can I jump in? I have to go. We have people coming to dinner very soon. And much as I love you all, I feel that my guest would like some cooked food rather than some raw food. So I wish you all the happiest of holidays. And I love you all. And forgive me for running away.
Thank you.
Love you, Rhys.
Bye.
Rhys will be back on March 5th with her daughter to do the new Molly.
Oh, that's fun.
So you all can, we're going to do it live at the store, but we're going to video it as well. So you all can actually watch and see how it goes. So does anybody else have a book to recommend, Deb?
Oh, I was just the Ellie Griffiths. We were talking about Ellie Griffiths, the Midnight Hour, the 6th in the Brighton series came out on Tuesday, and I've just started it, but it's wonderful. I love this series. I came so late to it. I
adored the Ruth Galloway series, but I'm telling you, her 2 standalones, and she won the Edgar for the first one.
Yeah, well, I read those and all Ruth Galloway's from the very first book, but somehow I hadn't read the Brighton books, and I picked up the first one back in the summer, I think, and had just loved them. So just different.
I mean, the Stranger Diaries is one of the best books I've ever read.
It's a wonderful book.
Just out of the ballpark.
And the postscript murders that follows up is hilarious. I mean,
I think I may like that even better.
Yeah, I think they're both wonderful, but she's a lot of fun. Think of her in her garden shed. I want you to think of her out there freezing in her garden shed and talking and so forth. So it's wonderful. Julia, do you have a book you want to give?
I do, and you're all going to hate me because it's an advanced reader copy, but and it doesn't even have the fancy cover. I got the very earliest one. It is Child Zero by Chris Holm. And Chris has done some very cool stuff. His first small short series was this mystery / supernatural. He did another short series, I think 3 books, about a hitman who kills other hitman, which was fabulous. And Child Zero, which is coming out in May, is just this. I could not put this down, and I can put a lot of books down these days. It's a set in the near future after, sounds familiar, pandemic and disease has just sort of decimated society. And there are all sorts of people who are living as refugees in these squalid camps. And it opens with this one camp where there is one group of people who are not getting sick. And the only thing they all have in common is there's one boy, one child, who has met up with all of them. And, you know, I know, right? You told me this and I was like, oh my God, I have to read this. And, you know, the race is on. So there's a real strong thriller mystery element to it. It's got explosions. It's got science. It's got great characterizations. It has people who are being witty, even though they're in, you know, dire circumstances. It is absolutely going to be, you know, the book you are not going to want to miss in check back at May 22. If you can get your hands on an advanced reader copy, I saw on Chris's Twitter that he's got ones with the cool looking cover. You know, get one because it's such a great read.
Thank you. Hallie, what about you?
Me? Yeah, I also have an advanced reader's copy that I am in the middle of. And it's All in the Family. This is by my sister, Delia. It's not a mystery.
Oh.
This is coming out in April. It's called Left on 10th, and she'll be on Jungle Red Riders talking about it in April. Left on 10th. And it's a memoir. It's the story of, you know, my sister Delia used to work with my sister Nora, who was pretty famous as a writer and died of leukemia a while back now. And then Delia's husband died, and then Delia got leukemia, and then met a man and married and survived leukemia. It's a story. It's an amazing story. It's her memoir. And as I say, it's coming out in April. I hope it's going to be a big book for her. Left on 10th.
Thank you.
I also have an advanced reader copy, but I can't get it right now.
Okay, well, just tell us what it is.
But it's, and actually John Charles is the one who hooked me up. When I did my talk with him, I was talking about how much I love Gothic and how there's just not a lot of it. I wish it would come back huge. I love Gothic novels. So he turned me on to Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. And the deal is I'm supposed to get him an ARC too, but I only got one. So don't tell him. It's
That's
fantastic.
Okay.
And I'll get it to him
Don't
as
worry.
soon as I can. Oh, are you okay? I'm like, I will get it to him, but I'm first. You know, I had to beg my editor for it. But it's, if you like Mexican Gothic, it's in that vein. And I'm very excited. I've just started it, but so far I'm all in. So Hacienda, Isabel Cañas, and I believe it's coming out in May.
It is coming out in May from Berkeley. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Hank, you're up.
Two really quickly. This is also an ARC called Lavender House by A.C. Rosen. And it's set in 1952 in San Francisco. And if I say to you, it is Philip Marlowe meets Agatha Christie meets La Cage aux Folles. It is ingenious and original and amazing. Honestly, it's heartbreaking and lovely and revealing in every, I'm trying to write a blurb for it, and I'm not quite sure I have enough words to tell you
Wow.
how good it is. So it's
the author?
Excellent. His name is Lev A.C. Rosen.
Okay.
Lev A.C. Rosen. And he's written YA before. And I think this is his first mystery thriller. It's unlike anything I've ever read. And then quickly, I'm also reading, and I don't have it to hold up because I have it on e-reader, is The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentile. And it is brilliant and clever and wonderful and amazing. And I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Did you read the dedication?
I didn't read. Is it dedicated to you? Oh, it is.
My book. I'm going to bring her over here from Australia at my expense.
Oh my gosh. She is a genius. She is brilliant. Every one of her books. If you haven't
read the Roland Sinclair mysteries, they're wonderful. She got one of those starred reviews for the 10th one, which is set in Boston, which is a really interesting book. I feel really lucky that I've gotten to edit her over the years. But she's a remarkable writer. Some of you might have met her at Dallas because she was there. Remember, there was a group of Australian writers there, Derville and McTurnan and Sulari, and I can't remember. But anyway, thank you, Hank. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. And
I'm going to go back and look at the dedication. I should go.
It just says to Barbara, but it's me, that Barbara, right? As opposed to other Barbaras in the world, right? It's a wonderful book, and I'm really glad she wrote an earlier one called After She Wrote It in this country that won the Ned Kelly Award for best novel. So
it also win for best cover. That was a great cover.
Yeah, she's a remarkable person. Well, ladies, it's really been a pleasure to celebrate the Christmas season with you, the holidays. Can I say Christmas anymore? I mean, I feel like we're all sort of forced into holiday, but I'm going to say Christmas regardless, or Hanukkah, as the case may be, even though we've already passed it by because it was so early this year. But anyway, it's really been a pleasure to talk to all of you. I hope we can keep this up and make a third annual event.
Definitely so.
Comes along, and I'm sure our paths will cross in 2022, all of us, one way or another. Patrick, thank you as ever for your fabulous.
Yes, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you,
Patrick. Good night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening and indeed the entire festive December season. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.